Blessings, Sawubona, Letwabu, great risings, joy risings, beautiful people. Tiffany, hey girl, hey. This one just sounds like yo. Bible, today. Now it's Thursday already. Y'all see the I know I was kind of late in posting. Y'all may not have had a chance. Well, I'm certain y'all didn't have a chance to look at it yet because I just posted it. I was trying to find a video. Remember yesterday the sunset that I said that I caught back in January. I remembered it yesterday. Then I got sidetracked and I forgot about it again. And I didn't remember it again until this morning when I was up. I was like, oh shoot, I forgot to add that video up there so they can see the new moon, the day of the new moon, how she only shows for about a couple hours, how she fades in a sliver and then she fades back out, right? Caught that news channel, recorded the whole sunset, which captured the new moon coming in back in January. It's a perfect, clear view. Never seen it like that before in my life. So I didn't post it till about 20 minutes ago. So it's there now. It's on Facebook. I posted it in a post by itself. Like I reshared my original post from back in January. I copied the link and I posted it in the comment section of Facebook yesterday and also the description box of Facebook yesterday. But I also did the same thing over on YouTube as well. So the video on YouTube in the description box, you will see I put a lot of sun emojis. So right down there, you can see, and it's a link to Facebook, to the news channel that actually recorded. And also I pinned it in the comment section of yesterday's video. So I'm sorry, guys. I said I was going to post it yesterday. I was looking for it, then I got sidetracked and forgot about it until this morning again. So it's there if you want to go see it. All right, Trina, I know you specifically said that you wanted to see it. You want Mr. Shimmer today. I know that's right. Okay, y'all. So I just wanted to say that. And also, I don't think she's here yet on YouTube. Linda Brown, hey, Auntie Mom, shalom, shalom, Josiah, shalom. Peace and blessings out of y'all. Sawubona. Demi, shalom. Okay, look, so but yesterday, Joanne, she actually brought it up, but it was in the comment section. And I went and looked. So what, if you went back and you read the comments from yesterday, you'll kind of see the dialogue between me and Joanne. And she said that the new moon was sighted on Tuesday, April the, let me get the date right. Hold on. April the 13th. And I put that it was sighted on Monday, the 12th, right? So, but what happens, and she actually gave me the site. I was like, okay, let me check it out. What happened is we both were right. It was sighted on the 12th and on the 13th. But here's the thing. In America, in North America and South America, it was reported, seen, confirmed. They looked at it with binoculars and everything. They saw the first sliver of the new moon on Monday. It was approximately like 5:27 p.m. in California. The first call came from California where they saw it. Then quite a few other places began to see it on Monday. But over in Jerusalem, they didn't see it until the 13th. But wait a minute. As I was saying this out loud, I just thought about something. Yo, I wish Joanne was here. Maybe she'll come back and watch the beginning. I'm going to have to tell her, go back. Listen, okay. Look, y'all. There is, I didn't get this yesterday. I was like, okay, they saw it on the 13th. We saw it on the 12th. But listen. I'm almost certain now, as I was saying it out my mouth, Yahuwah just brought something back to my remembrance. The time zones. Everybody saw it at the same time, y'all. Listen, Jerusalem is about almost 12 hours ahead, right? So although they saw it on the 13th, when we saw it here, well, I didn't see it because it was really cloudy, but when the calls started coming in from America and South America that they could see it, it was already tomorrow in Jerusalem, right? So everybody saw it at the same time. I just got that literally while I was saying it out loud. I just thought about that. And I know that personally because of friends that I know that made multiple trips to Jerusalem. And a couple times, this was a few years ago now, with a ministry I was with, they took a pilgrimage to Israel, right? I didn't get to go. I was pregnant at the time. I really wanted to go, but I was handling a couple of things for it, right? But thank you, 14 hours ahead. I knew I was close, but that whole scenario came back to me when a group of my friends went to Israel. And yeah, y'all probably got that, but it just clicked while I was saying it out. Like, you know how you be thinking about something, but sometimes you got to actually say it out your mouth for it to register and run through. So I wasn't like saying it out loud. I was just thinking, oh, well, okay, well, if they said, okay, well, it is Jerusalem. Okay. But according to, we all saw it around the world at the same time, but they were already into tomorrow when we saw it over here, right? So that's where the little discrepancy comes in. That really just blew my mind. Like, it's simple, but it just blew my mind. Thank you, Father, that you reminded me of that. So when they saw it, when they called it in Jerusalem, and they were calling it here, and depending on where you at, Tiffany, where you at? Anyway, they was already into tomorrow, right, when they spotted it. So the call, so people have Sabbath on different days, or should we be following Jerusalem? Here's another thing that we talked about, me and Joanne, kind of like back and forth. Here's what Yahuwah says. I'm going to read it to you. Let's go to it real quick. You know what? Let's do the Shema first. Let's do the Shema. I'm going to read it to you because Dana asked, so people will have Sabbath on different days, or should we be following Jerusalem? Let's do the Shema. I'm going to answer that real quick, then we're going to get started, right? Based on what I understand up until today, right? Okay. Let's do the Shema. Okay, the Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting at verse 3. Remember, read the whole chapter, y'all. Read the whole chapter. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God as he has commanded us. Okay, y'all. So Dana's question real quick before we start the reading. I'm going to pull it up for y'all. Dana said, so people will have Sabbath on different days, or should we be following Jerusalem? I like the way you worded that, Dana, because yes and no, right? Okay, so keeping with the fact, understanding that when the calls started coming here from the Americas and South America, according to the time we have here, and the evening time, remember they were already into the next day, which makes sense to me now when I was looking at the times for them calling the new moon sighting early in the morning. I'm like, well, we see it after sunset, right? And so this is a whole nother thing with them screwing with the times and changing the time zones. So they see it in the early morning hours. We see it in the evening. And if we think about the rotation of the sun and the moon and how it's light on one part of the earth and dark on the other side of the earth, all of this, you have to look at all of this together. So should we be following Jerusalem or not? See, what's going to happen is if everything stays as it is, if everybody stays on their time zone, you could follow it like Jerusalem did, like Jerusalem is, but in the land where you're at, you're going to be outside of that time marker, right? Because if we saw it, here, let's go to Leviticus 23. Let me read this first. It's all the way through Leviticus 23, and it's going to explain Leviticus 23. Yahuwah tells us, where are you seeing the call outs? If you go to my video yesterday, I put the links. Like when I can't personally see it, Dana, when I can't personally see it because the sky is cloudy, I have a couple links that I go to look at people who are watching from all over the world, right? And I posted again here today, and you can click on the links, and they'll tell you that the first call that came from the Americas and South America and was this time here. The first people to call it were located in California, and then it was Chicago, right? And then there's another link. It's the same thing. And the link Joanne gave me yesterday, she apparently only had the link for the ones who call it out in Jerusalem. But if we get these times and we gather them together and we consider the time zones, everybody was calling it at the same time. No matter wherever you are, it will always be the same. Although here's where people get kind of messed up and kind of needless arguments happen because they don't have all the information they need to consider these things. Although it seems like Tuesday they called it out in Jerusalem and Monday they called it out in Jerusalem. So wait a minute, we can't have two. No, consider the time zones and where you're located on the earth, right? And what position you are, and when it's dark here, it's light here. So all of these things have to be considered, right? Listen, Yahuwah said, okay, so we know Leviticus chapter 23 is the go-to chapter for all of you who was appointed feasts, right? And without reading all of them, but go back and read the whole thing. But I'm going to just skip to the different sections where Yahuwah says this, because when you ask Daniel, should we observe it on the time that Jerusalem celebrates it or where we see it? Yahuwah says wherever you live in the land. So if you live in Jerusalem, you celebrate it on Jerusalem's time schedule. If you live in America, you celebrate it on America's time schedule, because if you look at it and if you step back, they're going to be celebrating it at the same time anyway. And it would have stayed that way had they not started screwing with time and splitting the time zones and all these different things. If you celebrate it where you live in America, Jerusalem should also be celebrating it at this time. Although here in America, because of the time zone and all that, is still Monday, April the 12th. But with them calling it out, it's early in the morning over here when they can see it. So it's April the 13th, Tuesday here. So now they're celebrating it. But we're celebrating it. You see, it's not. I hope I'm explaining this the right way. We're celebrating it at the same time, but because of the time zones we live in, it seemed like we're celebrating it on two different days. In all actuality, if we would keep to what Yahuwah said, just wherever you live, wherever you spot it at, because wherever it's spotted, it's going to be spotted all over the world at the same time. But they're going to list it according to their time zone and according to their day, right? Okay, right, Trina. So if we living here in America would celebrate it on Jerusalem's time, we would be off because the day would have already passed. You get what I'm saying? Y'all, Trina gets it. Because remember, their time zone, Jerusalem is already into tomorrow while we're still in today. So if we it makes sense. Okay, Dana. So if we see it here, but we're gonna wait. Okay, Jerusalem's celebrating it tomorrow, so we're gonna do it with Jerusalem. You are wrong, right? Because we see it here now, right? They see it there, but according to their time zone, it's already tomorrow, so they celebrate it now. So we technically, and in all actuality, we're all celebrating it at the same time. But according to paper and time that they have played with, it looks like on paper it's different days. And wait a minute, somebody is lying. When all actuality, they're not. You just don't understand what they have done with time and time zones, right? That makes sense? Okay. So Leviticus 23 tells us, Leviticus 23, verse 3, you have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath day of complete rest, an official day for holy assembly. It is Yahuwah's Sabbath day, and here it is. It must be observed wherever you live, right? And that's talking about the Sabbath. We know that the new moon calls out the new month. Thereby, we can know the counting of the days, which is the line leader of the Sabbaths, right? So the Sabbaths, the new moons, were observed wherever you live. And so if we skip down and go all the way to verse 14. This is talking about the celebration of the first harvest or the first fruits. You do not eat any bread or roasted grain or fresh kernels on that day until you bring this offering to your God. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation wherever you live, right? Okay. And Yahuwah just keeps repeating this, right? And if you go down to verse 21, that same day will be proclaimed. Wait, this is talking about the festival of the harvest, the ingathering, or Sukkot, right? That same day will be proclaimed an official day for holy assembly, a day on which you do no ordinary work. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation wherever you live. Right, Trina, when it's Monday for us, it's Tuesday for them. So in all actuality, we're celebrating it at the same time, right? So if you go back here and you just keep reading all through Leviticus 23, and it's not just in Leviticus 23, Yahuwah repeats this all the way through, right? Go down to 31. You must not do any work at all. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation wherever you live. So it doesn't matter if you're celebrating it on our time zone, you live in America, you celebrate it here, right? If you decide to move to Jerusalem or whatever day it is that they see and call out the new moon where it can be verified, that is the day that you celebrate it, right? And he just keeps going and he just keeps repeating it over and over and over again. And it's not just here, but I thought this was a good chapter to call out because he keeps repeating it, and it's with all of the feasts, right? So it's wherever you live. And because we live here, that's why we called it on Monday, April the 12th, 2021. Right, so that's how that's done. Okay. You're right, Aliyah. He said people will always get it wrong as long as they're still following the wrong Israel. The Most High Yahuwah says Jerusalem will be without its inhabitants. Therefore, how come this Jerusalem is populated against the Most High? Absolutely right. And when people don't read it, they just miss that, you know? So, Joanne, shalom, sis. I was just talking about our conversation yesterday. I'm not sure how long you were here. I kind of had the chat section covered up, but I was chatting with them and explaining about how when we see it, it's already tomorrow in Jerusalem. So you were right in saying that they spotted it on Tuesday, April the 13th, where we called it on April the 12th, because that's when we saw it here. But in all actuality, we saw it at the same time because we saw it in the evening hours of Monday after the sunset, and they didn't see it until the early morning hours, which was already the 13th for them, right? So I just kind of went through the explanation of all that. So if you missed like the first part, just when we're done, just kind of go back to the beginning of the video so you can see the first few minutes. But yeah, Yanata, shalom, brother. Alicia, makes sense. Okay, Kalahari. Look, Aliyah. Look, let me tell you something. And I'm gonna get started here. I was thinking about that, like, okay, So my husband's mom and his dad, they watch a lot of Discovery channels, right? And looking at all the different places. You know how the Discovery Channel shows different places and they do like a Sahara Desert and showing all the animals and all that stuff, so he just kind of grew up with that. So he tends to do the same thing and he watches those, right? And so I'm like, well, shoot, this is pretty interesting. So we learn a lot about wildlife and nature, but National Geographic, the wildlife portion, I think it was the wildlife portion of it, they did this particular segment on Africa and the Sahara Desert and the Kalahari Desert. I'm going to see if I can find them, right? I'm going to see if I can find them. Let me make a note so y'all can see what I'm talking about, right? Okay, so they did this segment. And so one night, we was all laying in the bed and we was watching this. And as we was going through, they was showing the land and how vast it was and how it was nothing there, no inhabitants, no people, except for the people with the cameras and stuff that's recording everything. And while I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, man, all this vast land in Africa, I was, this is beautiful. And then all of a sudden, no sooner than I said that out of my mouth, yeah, it's on YouTube. Okay, listen. So when I was sitting here watching, this was like late last year, we were watching it. And so I was looking, and all of a sudden the scripture started coming back to me where Yahuwah tells us, he said, I'm going to completely destroy this place, and it's going to be without inhabitant, and it's going to be the home of jackals, and it's going to be overrun by animals until I'll bring you back here. And all of a sudden I'm like, what? Wait a minute. And then I really started paying attention to everything that they were showing in Africa and how it's barren, but it's not barren. It's beautiful. She's enjoyed her Sabbaths because the people haven't been there to run them up and do everything they ain't supposed to be doing. And it's literally a home for the wild animals, right? And I'm like, clearly, Father, and I talked to my husband. I said, listen, babe, if I ain't know any better and I know better, listen, I said, there's a lot of stuff that people are showing us, and Yahuwah's people are none the wiser because they don't know what he said. They don't know his words. They keep them from reading the Old Testament. I hate calling it the Old Testament because it's a misnomer. It's improperly named. It's the books of instruction, or the Torah, the books of the law and the prophets, which is just as alive today as it was back in when he first reissued it from Sinai, right? I said, listen, I said, they are showing Israel their homeland and people can't even see. They showing it, they putting it in Discovery, the Discovery channels and all this stuff, making documentaries, and nobody is catching it. I said they're like, you know how you take something from somebody and you flaunt it in their face, nanny boo boo, it's mine, and they don't even know. And I'm just like, this is crazy. I'm like, Father, wake your people up. Wake your people up. Some people are starting to realize it now. And it's just like, man, it just shooketh me all down in my shana now, right? Yeah, it's just like now, it's like, Father, how do we get the attention of Israel so that they can see what they need to be doing? Because things is, although the captivity is over, Yahuwah has to break the captivity that has been placed on our minds so that we can just see the truth right in front of our faces. And so now my prayer is, Father, how do we wake up Israel? Forget what all the other nations are, not forget, because you're going to deal with that, but forget that for a moment. How do we get the attention of our brothers and sisters? Because if we can get their attention and let them know, look, Yahuwah said this is happening to us because we did this. We turned away from him. This is why this is. That's why they're still killing us in the streets and they're declaring themselves not guilty. Did not Yahuwah say that? He said they're going to declare themselves not guilty. That's what they're doing, letting them off, shooting our people innocently. Oh, I thought it was my stun gun. Murder, cold blood, not guilty. Although they haven't declared her not guilty yet, they don't for sure. They don't put her in an orange jumpsuit. But if Israel doesn't turn around and repent for turning away from Yah and cry out to him, she gonna get off too, right? And I'm just like, man, Father, what we need to do, we need to continue waking our people up. Like, we need to quickly break the state of our people, and so that they can turn back to Yah and cry out to him, not on the names of powerless gods who haven't been able to help us in that nary time since we've been in captivity. And Yahuwah said, he said, y'all want to worship other gods? Y'all want to mix my praise with other praise of dumb gods? Okay, I'll send you to a land where you can do that clearly. And you cry out to them. Let's see how much help they give you. They ain't gonna give you nothing. And don't even call my name while you're there. I'll give you a good little time so you can go ahead and get it about your system. And we'll see how well them gods of wood and stone and crosses treat you, right? You call out to them. I'm gonna sit back here and I'm gonna watch all of this, right? And I got the angels recording. Have not I been more faithful? And I even told them this was gonna happen before they went over there. Write it down. Yep. Witness. Right. Okay. Y'all ready to get it together now? Y'all ready? It's been a little over 400 years now, right? Matter of fact, it's been a lot longer than that. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Okay, let's get it together, people. All right, y'all. I'm done. Okay, let's do this reading for the day, y'all. It is Thursday, April the 15th, 2021, day 128 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 797. We're reading 1 Kings 13, 14, and 15. Then we're going to hop over to the LOJ, right? The Legends of the Jews, and we're going to pick up where we left off at yesterday. And what was that section? We read about Ezekiel yesterday, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. 1 Kings. I got to put it back because I changed it when I was reading Leviticus to y'all. Hold on. Okay. Okay, y'all. What I do here? Oh, that's better. Okay, y'all. Amen, Auntie. Okay, 1 Kings chapter 13. At Yahuwah's command, a man of Yahuwah from Judah went to Bethel, arriving there just as Jeroboam was approaching the altar to burn incense. Then at Yahuwah's command, he shouted, O altar, this is what Yahuwah says, a child named Josiah will be born into the dynasty of David. On you, he will sacrifice the priests from the pagan shrines who come here to burn incense, and human bones will be burned on you. That same day, the man of God gave a sign to prove his message. He said, Yahuwah has promised to give this sign. This altar will split apart, and its ashes will be poured out on the ground. When King Jeroboam heard the man of Yahuwah speaking against the altar at Bethel, he pointed at him and shouted, seize that man. But instantly, the king's hand became paralyzed in that position, and he couldn't pull it back. At the same time, a wide crack appeared in the altar, and the ashes poured out, just as the man of Yah had predicted in his message from Yahuwah. Now, I want y'all, as we go through here, I know I said a lot, but every time Yahuwah says something, when he says something is going to happen, and he gives a specific time marker, it happens when he says it's going to happen. So remember, I told you all these prophets that's giving you these open-ended prophecies and ending it with soon. They suspect right off the top to me, because if we read back here and we get familiar with Yahuwah's character and how he operates, when he says something, he lets you know exactly when he's going to do it, right? Just like he gave the end of our captivity 400 years. When did all hell start breaking loose? When did all hell start breaking loose? A lot of people say it was 2019, 1619 to 2019, but that was the beginning of the 400th year, right? All hell didn't start breaking loose to 2020, my G. Pay attention, right? And we're going to see the progression, and it's going to ramp up. Same thing back here. Just like he told him, he said, this will be the sign, right? And sure enough, that was a sign that happened just like he said. When he said something's going to happen, he gives the time marker and the length about time where he says it's going to happen, and it's going to happen. So pay attention to that. Get familiar with how Yahuwah operates so you can know. And when people are prophesying to you, when people are giving words, if they end this stuff with open-ended prophecies, they are suspect right off the top, because Yahuwah does not operate that way through his prophets. I'm just telling y'all what I've learned and what I've seen, right? When King Jeroboam heard the man of Yahuwah speaking against the altar at Bethel, he pointed at him and shouted, seized that man. But instantly the king's hand became paralyzed in that position and he couldn't pull it back. At the same time, a wide crack appeared in the altar and the ashes poured out, just as the man of Yahuwah had predicted in his message from Yah. The king cried out to the man of Yah, "Please ask Yah, your God, to restore my hand again." So the man of Yah prayed to Yahuwah, and the king's hand was restored, and he could move it again. Ooh, thank you. Then the king said to the man of Yah, "Come to the palace with me and have something to eat, and I will give you a gift." But the man of Yah said to the king, "Even if you gave me half of everything you own, I would not go with you. I would not eat or drink anything in this place, for Yahuwah gave me this command: you must not eat or drink anything while you are there, and do not return to Judah by the same way you came." So he left Bethel and went home another way. Pay attention to this, y'all. Listen. As it happened, remember what listen, I'm gonna read this again, what Yahuwah just told him, because people get sidetracked too. You got Israel, this is well known in Israel amongst our people, right? they just be stealing, Dana. They just be stealing. Sounds like the NT store with the man with the messed up arm. They just be stealing, don't they? Though, that's another story for another day. We're gonna leave that right there for a second. Listen, so I want y'all to think about it. Some of you all may have experienced this or seen this happening within scattered Israel. Wherever you at, you've probably seen it. You have one person that calls himself a prophet. I'm the prophet of the Most High. And then you got another one. I'm the prophet of the Most High too. But they have two clashing words, right? Pay attention. But the man of Yahuwah said to the king, "Even if you gave me half of everything you own, I would not go with you. I would not eat or drink anything in this place, for Yahuwah gave me this command: you must not eat or drink anything while you are there, and do not return to Judah by the same way you came." So he left Bethel and went home another way. As it happened, there was an old prophet living in Bethel, and his sons came home and told him what the man of Yah had done in Bethel that day. They also told their father what the man had said to the king. The old prophet asked them, "Which way did he go?" So they showed their father which road the man of Yahuwah had taken. "Quickly, saddle the donkey," the old man said. So they saddled the donkey for him, and he mounted it. Then he rode after the man of Yahuwah and found him sitting under a tree. The old prophet, now this is an old prophet. Remember, the younger guy, he was a young prophet. Two prophets of Israel, right? Two prophets of Israel. Then he rode after the man of Yah and found him sitting under a great tree. The old prophet asked him, "Are you the man of Yah, the young prophet who came from Judah?" "Yes, I am," he replied. Then he said to the man of Yah, "Come home with me and eat some food." Right? He coming to test them words that Yahuwah gave him. Prophets, when you've heard from Yah, you need to stand strong on what you said. Yah said to you, right? And the young prophet, he truly indeed had heard from Yah. Then he said to the man of Yah, "Come home with me and eat some food." "No, I cannot," he replied. "I am not allowed to eat or drink anything here in this place, for Yahuwah gave me this command: you must not eat or drink anything while you are there, and do not return to Judah by the same way you came." But the old prophet answered, "I'm a prophet too, just as you are. And an angel gave me this command from Yah: bring him home with you so he can have something to eat and drink." But the old man was lying. So they went back together, and the man of Yah ate and drank at the prophet's home. Then, while they were sitting at the table, a command from Yahuwah came to the old prophet. He cried out to the man of Yah from Judah, which was the young prophet. "This is what Yahuwah says: you have defied the word of Yahuwah and disobeyed the command Yahuwah your God gave you. You came back to this place and ate and drank what he told you not to eat or drink. Because of this, your body will not be buried in the grave of your ancestors." After the man of Yahuwah had finished eating and drinking, the old prophet saddled his own donkey for him, and the man of Yahuwah started off again. But as he was traveling along, a lion came out and killed him. His body lay there on the road with the donkey and the lion standing beside it. The people who passed by saw the body lying in the road and the lion standing beside it, and they went and reported it in Bethel, where the old prophet lived. When the prophet heard the report, he said, It is the man of Yahuwah who disobeyed Yahuwah's command. Yahuwah has fulfilled his word by causing the lion to attack and kill him. Then the old prophet said to his sons, saddle a donkey for me. So they saddled a donkey, and he went out and found the body lying in the road. The donkey and the lion were still standing there beside it, for the lion had not eaten the body nor attacked the donkey. So the prophet laid the body of the man of Yahuwah on the donkey and took it back to the town to mourn over him and bury him. He laid the body in his own grave, crying out in grief, "Oh, my brother." Listen. And this is a lesson for the prophets out there and those out there calling themselves prophets, right? And you putting Yahuwah's name on stuff that he really didn't tell you. You just kind of assuming, and you just that's kind of good measure. The Lord told me, y'all gonna get yourself into some trouble. You had best believe if you say that, it had better be true, because if not, your words are gonna come for you. They're gonna come for you, right? And if you did something that Yahuwah told you not to do, a lot of times we see that you are met with harsh rebuke, chastisement, and a lot of times even death, right? Why? Because you should preserve knowledge. Priests and prophets should reserve knowledge, right? And the true words of Yahuwah, just like the book of Malachi tells us. When you get out here and you're a vagabond because you are considered a leader in the eyes of Yah, you must be dealt with quickly and harshly, right? Because you will cause the entire nation to go run amok, which is happening now, and it must stop even today. Afterward, the prophet said to his sons, when I die, bury me in the grave where the man of Yahuwah is buried. Lay my bones beside his bones, for the message Yahuwah told him to proclaim against the altar in Bethel and against the pagan shrines in the towns of Samaria will certainly come true. But even after this, Jeroboam did not turn from his evil ways. He continued to choose priests from the common people. He appointed anyone who wanted to become a priest for the pagan shrines. This became a great sin and resulted in utter destruction of Jeroboam's dynasty from the face of the earth. All right, y'all. Next chapter. 1 Kings chapter 14. At that time, Jeroboam's son Abijah became very sick. So Jeroboam told his wife, disguise yourself so that no one will recognize you as my wife. Then go to the prophet Ahijah at Shiloh, the man who told me I would become king. Take him a gift of 10 loaves of bread, some cakes, and a jar of honey, and ask him what will happen to the boy. So Jeroboam's wife went to Ahijah's home at Shiloh. He was an old man now and could no longer see. But Yahuwah had told Ahijah, Jeroboam's wife will come here pretending to be someone else. She will ask you about her son, for he is very sick. Give her the answer I give you. So when Ahijah heard her footsteps at the door, he called out, come in, wife of Jeroboam. Why are you pretending to be someone else? Then he told her, I have bad news for you. Give your husband Jeroboam this message from Yahuwah, the God of Israel. I promoted you from the ranks of the common people and made you ruler over my people Israel. I ripped the kingdom away from the family of David and gave it to you. But you have not been like my servant David, who obeyed my commands and followed me with all his heart and always did whatever I wanted. You have done more evil than all who lived before you. You have made other gods for yourself and have made me furious with your gold calves. And since you have turned your back on me, I will bring disaster on your dynasty and will destroy every one of your male descendants, slave and free alike, anywhere in Israel. I will burn up your royal dynasty as one burns up trash until it's all gone. The members of Jeroboam's family who die in the city will be eaten by dogs, and those who die in the field will be eaten by vultures. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Then Ahijah said to Jeroboam's wife, go on home, and when you enter the city, the child will die. All Israel will mourn for him and bury him. He is the only member of your family who will have a proper burial. For this child is the only good thing that Yahuwah, the God of Israel, sees in the entire family of Jeroboam. In addition, Yahuwah will raise up a king over Israel who will destroy the family of Jeroboam. This will happen today, even now. Then Yahuwah will shake Israel like a reed whipped about in a stream. He will uproot the people of Israel from this good land that he gave their ancestors and will scatter them beyond the Euphrates River. For they have angered Yahuwah with the Asherah poles they have set up for worship. What did we realize Asherah poles were, y'all? They still worshiping them today. Jeremiah talks about it a little bit. Asherah poles are Christmas trees. They bringing them into their house, decorating them. He said, "Son of man, you see what they doing? You see what they doing? Am I tripping? Do you see with your eyes what I see with my eyes? Yeah, in their own homes. For they have angered Yahuwah with the Asherah poles they have set up for worship. He will abandon Israel because Jeroboam sinned and made Israel to sin along with him. So Jeroboam's wife returned to Tirzah, and the child died just as she walked through the door of her home." That's another time mark. Remember, Yahuwah said something gonna happen. He said this gonna happen today. Look. So Jeroboam's wife returned to Tirzah, and the child died just as she walked through the door of her home. Ain't that what Yahuwah said? He said, "This is the only child who would have a proper burial." We just talked about that baby. He said, "This is the only good thing Yahuwah sees in all the family of Jeroboam, but he's going to die and he's going to have a proper burial." And that's going to happen today. So Jeroboam's wife returned to Tirzah, and the child died just as she walked through the door of her home. And all of Israel buried him and mourned for him, as Yahuwah had promised through the prophet Ahijah. The rest of the events in Jeroboam's reign, including all his wars and how he ruled, are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. Jeroboam reigned in Israel 22 years. When Jeroboam died, his son Nadab became the next king. Meanwhile, Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, was king in Judah. He was 41 years old when he became king, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city Yahuwah had chosen from among all the tribes of Israel as the place to honor his name. Rehoboam's mother was Naamah, an Ammonite woman. During Rehoboam's reign, the people of Judah did what was evil in Yahuwah's sight, provoking his anger with their sin, for it was even worse than that of their ancestors. For they also built for themselves pagan shrines and set up sacred pillars and Asherah poles on every high hill and under every green tree. There were even male and female shrine prostitutes throughout the land. The people imitated the detestable practices of the pagan nations Yahuwah had driven ahead of the Israelites. Y'all probably know this already, but I was looking up something and it kind of came up in my reading. But nuns in the Catholic faith, those is what you call those female shrine prostitutes. Now I know what they portray to everybody else, right? And all that is a cover for what they were doing, right? And matter of fact, it's in the book that I told y'all about. Matter of fact, which I truly believe at this point now that is going to be our next companion reading while we're going through here to uncover some truth. Fossilized Customs. So if you haven't gotten it, go ahead and get you a copy. Like I'm certain now that that's what we're supposed to be reading next. But it actually is. There's a portion in there that goes through some of the lies and stuff and things that were covered up and all the farce that they kind of blind people with. It talks about Catholicism and what they did and how they captured Yahuwah's people with false doctrine, and how the religions were split up and some were saying here, they're worshiping over here, all this stuff. Everybody's doing the same stuff. They name it different names, but everything is still the same, and it just kind of calls it out. But female shrine prostitutes nuns are female shrine prostitutes, right? But when you watch movies, they look like they good, pious women. No, that was the cover. I'm gonna be nice. I was about to say something. All I'm gonna say, that's a cover. So I went down some of them today, maybe good and pious, but they pretend to be holy on the outside, yet living a vile life, right? Same thing what Yahuwah was saying to his people when he said, "I'm sick of your new moon feasts. I'm sick of your Sabbath gatherings, your Sukkot, your feasts. I'm sick of all of it." And mind you, these feasts and stuff was instituted by Yah himself. But his people had this form, like the New Testament says, it has this form of godliness, right? Outwardly we look good and all put together, and we're doing everything that the law commands, but inside you're vile and you're filthy. And you will say, I do not accept it. Get rid of it. It's disgusting. I don't even want to see it anymore. You make me want to throw up, right? He said, put all these feasts away from me. I'm going to send you to a land where if you want to do this stuff, you can do it until you die, right? Yeah, so I got all into that just to let y'all know that nuns are female shrine prostitutes. Men too. You got some of the Catholic priests, all this stuff, this all the ratchetness and the all of that. And listen, let me tell y'all something. When we get to it, y'all will see it. If y'all haven't read it, even the names that they give, like they have no couth. Like my mama said, have you no couth about yourself? Like they had that, what they even name it, like the rectory and stuff, and the I think I brought this up a little bit before. They call it the seminary, right? It's a bunch of disgustingness, blatant and bold, right in the front of your face, and you're none the wiser. You're going to the seminary, a place where they deposit their semen into innocent, pure souls. To like, is all of this is a form of pagan worship, y'all. And we walk right into these disgusting temples daily to worship Yahuwah. Yahuwah said, I will have no parts of it, right? The seminary, the rectory, where are they? There, so y'all, we will get more detail when we actually start reading it. And I say we'll be done with Legends of the Jews in about a week, maybe 2, but it's gonna get into it, y'all. It's yes, rituals at its finest. Walking into the, you got the what do you call them? The obelisk, was the obelisk sitting on the top of the churches and stuff, and it represents a male phallus, the penis, the penis and everything. You walking right into these penis worshiping temples to worship Yahuwah, like you're ignorantly walking here. That's why I told y'all before, like when y'all hear me say it, when Yahuwah opened my eyes, I'm like, like I was completely shocked. That's why I said I will never enter into the doors of one of them again. You will not find my body there, right? And some people just got kind of lucky, like when a couple family members passed. Even recently, I say my grandmother, they was lucky that I walked in there then. But I was like, Father, this is where they're having this. I have no control over this. I said, but I know you would never catch me in one of these. I said, but my grandmother is here. I was like, so I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna pay my respects. But I was like, I know this is wrong, but I don't want to dishonor. Y'all get what I'm saying, right? But so ever since I realized that, you won't catch me inside of one of them, because I can't bring myself to walk in one of them, right? So like if I go, y'all better not put me to rest in the church. You better have my service outside amongst the trees, right? Not that I want to go, Father, you know what I'm saying. I don't want to go anytime soon. Like I want to see all this pop off in the earth. I want to stay here. But y'all get what I'm saying, right? Let me go back to this reading. Verse 25. In the 5th year of King Rehoboam's reign, King Shishak of Egypt came up and attacked Jerusalem. He ransacked the treasuries of Yahuwah's temple and the royal palace. He stole everything, including all the gold shields Solomon made. King Rehoboam later replaced them with bronze shields as substitutes, and he entrusted them to the care of the commanders of the guard who protected the entrance to the royal palace. Whenever the king went to the temple of Yahuwah, the guards will also take the shields and then return them to the guard room. The rest of the events in Rehoboam's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judah. There was a constant war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam. When Rehoboam died, he was buried among his ancestors in the city of David. His mother was Naamah, an Ammonite woman. Then his son Abijam became the next king. All right, next up, let's see what you do. Let's see what you do, King. Last chapter, 1 Kings chapter 15. Abijam began to rule over Judah in the 18th year of Jeroboam's reign in Israel. He reigned in Jerusalem 3 years. His mother was Maachah, the granddaughter of Absalom. He committed the same sins as his father before him, and he was not faithful to Yahuwah his God as his ancestor David had been. But for David's sake, Yahuwah his God allowed his descendants to continue ruling, shining like a lamp, and he gave Abijam a son to rule after him in Jerusalem. For David had done what was pleasing in Yahuwah's sight and had obeyed Yahuwah's commands throughout his life, except in the affair concerning Uriah the Hittite. There was war between Abijam and Jeroboam throughout Abijam's reign. The rest of the events in Abijah's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judah. There was constant war between Abijam and Jeroboam. When Abijam died, he was buried in the city of David. Then his son Asa became the next king. Come on, Asa, what you do? Asa began to rule over Judah in the 20th year of Jeroboam's reign in Israel. He reigned in Jerusalem 41 years. His grandmother was Maacah, the granddaughter of Absalom. Asa did what was pleasing in Yahuwah's sight, and as his ancestor David had done. He banished the male and female shrine prostitutes from the land and got rid of all the idols his ancestors made. He even deposed his grandmother Maacah from her position as queen mother because she had made an obscene Asherah pole. He cut down her obscene pole and burned it in the Kidron Valley. I'm sorry, y'all. Look, let me tell y'all something. I catch myself doing this and it naturally comes out, right? Look, I've been doing this for a while. Not that I purposely like my V's. Sometimes when I go pronounce them, they start to come out as B's, right? But I think about myself, why I keep doing it? It's like I catch myself doing it. But I realized in the Hebrew language, there was no V. Like Abraham is like the B and the V, and like the Hebrew language, how they did it, it's like it's interchangeable, but it shouldn't be a V. It should be a B, right? And I noticed that so if y'all see me doing it, I'm not like doing it on purpose. I quickly correct myself when I catch myself doing it so I can read it according to how I see it on the screen. But I know some people probably noticed that. It just happens. I don't be trying to do it. And I catch it, I just kind of quickly correct myself. Okay. He cut down her obscene pole and burned it in the Kidron Valley. Although the pagan shrines were not removed, Asa's heart remained completely faithful to Yahuwah throughout his life. He brought into the temple of Yahuwah the silver and gold and the various items that he and his father had dedicated. There was a constant war between King Asa of Judah and the King Baasha of Israel. King Baasha of Israel invaded Judah and fortified Ramah in order to prevent anyone from entering or leaving King Asa's territory in Judah. Asa responded by removing all the silver and gold that was left in the treasuries of the temple of Yahuwah and the royal palace. He sent it with some of his officials to Ben-Hadad, son of Tibrimam, son of Hezon, the king of Aram, who was ruling in Damascus, along with this message. Let there be a treaty between you and me, like the one between your father and my father. See, I am sending you a gift of silver and gold. Break your treaty with King Baasha of Israel, so that he will leave me alone. Ben-Hadad agreed to King Asa's request and sent the commanders of his army to attack the towns of Israel. They conquered the towns of Ijon, Dan, Abel-Beth-Maachah, and all Kinnereth, and all the land of Naphtali. As soon as Baasha of Israel heard what was happening, he abandoned his project of fortifying Ramah and withdrew to Tirzah. Then King Asa sent an order throughout Judah requiring that everyone without exception help to carry away the building stones and timbers that Baasha had been using to fortify Ramah. Asa used these materials to fortify the town of Geba and Benjamin and the town of Mizpah. The rest of the events in Asa's reign, the extent of his power, everything he did, and the names of the cities he built are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judah. In his old age, his feet became diseased. When Asa died, he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. Then Jehoshaphat, Asa's son, became the next king. Nadab, son of Jeroboam, began to rule over Israel in the second year of King Asa's reign in Judah. He reigned in Israel 2 years, but he did what was evil in Yahuwah's sight and followed the example of his father, continue with the sins that Jeroboam had led Israel to commit. Then Baasha, son of Ahijah, from the tribe of Issachar, plotted against Nadab and assassinated him while he and the Israelite army were laying siege to the Philistine town in Gibbethon. Baasha killed Nadab in the third year of King Asa's reign in Judah, and he became the next king of Israel. He immediately slaughtered all the descendants of King Jeroboam so that not one of the royal family was left, just as Yahuwah had promised concerning Jeroboam by the prophet Ahijah from Shiloh. This was done because Jeroboam had provoked Yahuwah to anger, the God of Israel, by the sins he had committed and the sins he led Israel to commit. The rest of the events in Nadab's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. There was constant war between King Asa of Judah and King Baasha of Israel. Baasha, son of Ahijah, began to rule over all of Israel in the third year of King Asa's reign in Judah. Baasha reigned in Tirzah 24 years, but he did what was evil in Yahuwah's sight and followed the example of Jeroboam, continuing the sins that Jeroboam had led Israel to commit. So all of this, y'all, is about the fights that's going on within and between the family split, right? Look. Okay. So let's pick up. Same here, her wishes. I'm right there with you. Shayla, Uncle JB said, bury y'all out in the open amongst the trees too, right? Yes. Don't desecrate our body and take it into a pagan shrine. After we spend all this time keeping it set apart and holy for Yahuwah to use, don't you dare defile our body by putting it someplace where it should not be, right? All right, y'all. We stopped on page 481 with reading, right, that's right, Nebuchadnezzar. His whole stint when he turned into a beast. Okay, so we picking up at the bottom of the page, it's like 2 sentences, then we'll go to the next page. The title is called The False Prophets. All right, y'all. Not only among the heathen, but also among the Jews, there were very sinful people in those days. The most notorious Hebrew sinners were 2 of the false prophets, Ahab and Zedekiah. Ahab came to the daughter of Nebuchadnezzar and said, yield thyself to Zedekiah, telling her this in the form of a divine message. The same was done by Zedekiah, who only varied the message by substituting the name of Ahab. The princess could not accept such messages as divine, and she told her father what had occurred. Though Nebuchadnezzar was so addicted to immoral practices that he was in a habit of making his captive kings drunk, then satisfying his unnatural lust upon them, and a miracle had to interpose to shield the pious of Judah against this disgrace. Yet he well knew that the God of the Hebrews hates immorality. So he was getting them drunk, committing sexual acts with the kings, with our people, right? Look, I also got this book. I don't know. It's not for the faint of heart. Just like I said, we got records and his historical documents that's been saved. I got this manual on King Nebuchadnezzar. Y'all, I thought, listen, it's vile in a different way from the one that I got about King Og. King Og was just filth, flooring filth all out of his mouth towards Jah. Like I told y'all, they hated the people of the circumcision, right? They call Israel the people of the circumcision. They would take our men and they would castrate them, and they would take their male parts, their penises, and toss them up, not toss them up, but literally throw them up in the air as they was throwing them at Yahuwah. Like, here's what I think about your circumcision, right? Like King Og and them, they was vile in a whole nother way. But King Nebuchadnezzar was just as vile, but just in a whole different light. It's just like filth, flooring filth, right? But they got records and stuff that they did And what's crazy is just by reading, I ain't saying y'all need to go read this because I'm sure you who are probably not reading, none of y'all, I mean, sending none of y'all, some of y'all to read some of this stuff. But because of the study and putting stuff together, and even I had a kind of like, okay, let me skip down. What is this part in? Like, I can't even read like all the words because it's so vile. But what you will see that within that, you will see what Israel, where it intermingles with our history. Like, that's what that was. So it's like a missing piece of the puzzle. But sometimes I think it's good that some of those vowel pieces everybody can't see, right? Because some people might actually become infatuated with some of that sin. It is disgusting, y'all. But nevertheless, it's a piece of the story where you can see, okay, that's what was missing, and that's why. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, we'll go ahead and put that back over there, cover that up. Matter of fact, bury that deep in the ground. Nobody else needs to see that. I'll rehash that story without all of that so they can get the gist of what happened. So we can show you why this happened over here, right? Whew. Listen. Okay, I'm gonna read this again. The princess could not accept such messages as divine, and she told her father what had occurred. Though Nebuchadnezzar was so addicted to immoral practices that he was in a habit of making his captive kings drunk and then satisfying his unnatural lust upon them, and a miracle had to interpose to shield the pious of Judah against this disgrace. Yet he well knew that the God of the Hebrews hates immorality. He therefore questioned Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah about it, and they emphatically denied the possibility that such a message could have come from Yahuwah. The prophets of lies refused to recall their statements, and Nebuchadnezzar decided to subject them to the same fiery test he had decreed for those three pious companions of Daniel. To be fair toward them, the king permitted them to choose a third fellow sufferer, some pious man, to share their lot. Seeing no escape, Ahab and Zedekiah asked for Joshua, later the high priest, as their companion in the furnace, in the hope that his distinguished merits would suffice to save all three of them. What? We gotta go to the fiery furnace? We can pick anybody we want. Okay, we know you don't sin. Let us get Joshua, the high priest, because we know we ain't gonna stand. Like you start having these, like they say, come to Jesus moments. You really, when your skin is on the line, you tend to snap. Okay, wait, what? We really got to that. Our words is gonna be tested. We can pick Joshua, the high priest. We know he is righteous before the Most High. Maybe his righteousness will be enough to save us, right? Maybe it'll be enough to save our own skin. Ooh. Let's see. Hold on, let's go back up. To be fair toward them, the king permitted them to choose a third fellow sufferer. Like he wanted to see, like before he did this, these prophets, these false prophets that said this word is from Yah, this word is from Yah, right? So King Nebuchadnezzar, although him being a wicked king, but even as wicked as he was, he still had respect towards Yah, into where, remember, he was casting lots. Okay, should I destroy Rome or Assyria or Jerusalem? And everything he did, it said, go destroy Yahuwah's people. He said, we is not having it. I don't want that kind of smoke with him. The God of Israel is really real. Like, we call ourselves God, but he truly is a God. I don't want to go there. But it was Yahuwah who was telling Nebuchadnezzar to come take Jerusalem, because Jerusalem was acting crazy. You know how you got a disobedient child in the house and they don't want to leave. Now you got to call the folk, reinforcements to come pull them out your house. And you standing there, this is going to hurt me more than this going to hurt you, baby. But you need to learn. We need some intervention here. And we're going to call the most horrible king to come get you, right? Maybe this little intervention, this will scare you straight. This is a whole scared straight moment for them, right? So Yahuwah sent King Nebuchadnezzar. But even in that, King Nebuchadnezzar knew who was righteous among us, right? All those that just kind of did what King Nebuchadnezzar said. And King Nebuchadnezzar knew he was a ratchet king, right? And all those of Israel who bowed to his command, he said, yeah, they deserve everything they get. He said, but those who stood apart, he knew, all right, we ain't messing with them because they are really. And then he put them to the test. Oh, you said y'all said this? So let's put you to the test of the fiery furnace. Come on, heat it up. All right, baby. Heat it up. And so when they say heat it up, if they start trying to make it go, oh, wait, hold on. What did I say? Because wait a minute, I had a momentary lapse of saying, okay, what you say I said? Hold on. What time was this? Wait, no, I don't think I said that. What I said was, you see a lot of you who was prophets, when somebody calls them out to the carpet, that is not what I said. Here is what I said, right? And they start to try and play on words, right? And they try and take their words and frame them in a whole different light. Like, we heard what you said. Now you're trying to tell us that this is what you meant. Okay, no. See, right here, you was adamant. And you was telling us this, like this was going to happen right here. Like that's how you present the entire message. But now these words are coming for you, and you have to give account of these words. Now you're trying to tell us, no, that is not what I really meant. This is no. See, y'all weren't paying attention. This is what I said. It's this whole thing happening right here, right? Look, the prophets of lies refused to record their statements, and Nebuchadnezzar decided to subject them to the same fiery test as he had decreed for the three pious companions of Daniel. To be fair towards them, the king permitted them to choose a third fellow sufferer, some pious man, to share their lot. Seeing no escape, Ahab and Zedekiah asked for Joshua, later the high priest, as their companion in the furnace, in hopes that his distinguished merits would suffice to save all three of them. They were mistaken. Joshua emerged unhurt. Only his garments were seared, but the false prophets were consumed. Joshua explained the singeing of his garments by the fact that he was directly exposed to the full fury of the flames. But the truth was that he had to expiate the sins of his sons, who had contracted marriages unworthy of their dignity and descent. Therefore, their father escaped death only after the fire had burnt his garments. Daniel's piety. Oh my gosh, I love Daniel so much. Listen, okay, here we go. And we got a couple more sections in here where it's talking about Daniel too. Okay, Daniel's piety. No greater contrast to Hiram and the false prophets Ahab and Zedekiah can be imagined than is presented by the character of the pious Daniel. When Nebuchadnezzar offered him divine honors, he refused what Hiram sought to obtain by every means in his power. And this is going to be the last little section we're going to read for today, y'all. Then we got to go. The Babylonian king felt so ardent an admiration for Daniel that he sent him from the country when the time arrived to worship the idol he had erected in Dura, for he knew very well that Daniel would prefer death in the flames to disregard of the commands of Yahuwah, and he could not well have cast the man into the fire whom he had paid divine homage, right? But he ain't know about them three that was rolling with Daniel either. He said, I'm about to do this. He knew he was about to pull shenanigans. He knew he was about to pull shenanigans on Yahuwah's people. He said, I can't let Daniel be here for this. He said, I got to send him away. He said, because I'm going to have to kill him, and I don't want to kill this man. He is truly righteous. So we got to send him away. But he ain't realized he had three other righteous men rolling with him that was going to stand with him, right? Look. Hold on. The Babylonian king felt so ardent an admiration for Daniel that he sent him from the country when the time arrived to worship the idol he had erected in Dura. But he knew very well that Daniel would prefer death in the flames to disregard. And hold on, they missed the word here. For he knew very well that Daniel would prefer death in the flames to disregard of the commands of Yahuwah, and he could not well have cast the man into the fire to whom he had paid divine homage. Moreover, it was the wish of Yahuwah that Daniel should not pass through the fiery ordeal at the same time as his three friends, in order that their deliverance might not be ascribed to him. So everybody's going to have to stand on their own someday, right? All that you profess, all that you say, we all, I myself included, one day our words are going to come for us. And we had better make sure that the words that we've been telling people truly are living. And it's like Jeremiah said, they are like fire shut up in your bones, whereby you cannot contain it. In spite of all this, Nebuchadnezzar, you better let that fire on the side of you be hotter than the fire outside of you, because the fire inside of you will consume the fire on the outside of you. Big fire against little fire. I got big fire. What y'all got? In spite of all this, Nebuchadnezzar endeavored to persuade Daniel by gentle means to worship an idol. He had the golden diadem of the high priest inserted in the mouth of an idol, and by reason of the wondrous power that resides in the holy name inscribed on a diadem, the idol gained the ability to speak, and it said the words, I am thy God. Thus were many seduced to worship the image. So what he did, King Nebuchadnezzar knew the ineffable name of Yahuwah, right? He took it and he wrote the name on a little scroll, and he rolled it up and he put it inside of the idol's mouth, because anything that come in contact with the name of Yahuwah can be brought to life or it can cause death. And hereby a wicked man doing it, he put it into his idol's mouth to deceive the people, and it came alive, right? Look. In spite of all this, Nebuchadnezzar endeavored to persuade Daniel by gentle means to worship an idol. He had the golden diadem of the high priest inserted into the mouth of an idol, and by reason of the wondrous power that resides in the holy name inscribed on the diadem, the idol gained the ability to speak. Okay, so it was his diadem that had the name up there, but they also did it in different parts. We'll see where they write it. They did it with another idol too. And by reason of the wondrous power that resides in the holy name inscribed on a diadem, the idol gained the ability to speak, and it said the words, I am thy God. Thus were many seduced to worship the image, but Daniel could not be misled so easily. He secured permission from the king to kiss the idol. Laying his mouth upon the idols, he adjured the diadem in the following words, I am but flesh and blood, yet at the same time a messenger of Yahuwah. I therefore admonish thee, take heed that the name of the Holy One, blessed be he, may not be desecrated, and I order thee to follow me. So it happened, when the heathen came with music and song to give honor to the idol, it emitted no sound, but a storm broke loose and overturned it. On still another occasion, Nebuchadnezzar tried to persuade Daniel to worship an idol. This time, a dragon that devoured all who approached it, and therefore was adored as a god by the Babylonians. Daniel had saw the straw mixed with nails to feed him, and the dragon ate and perished almost immediately. Daniel had straw mixed with nails to feed him, and the dragon ate and perished almost immediately. All this did not prevent Daniel from keeping the welfare of the king in mind continually. Hence it was that when Nebuchadnezzar was engaged in setting his house in order, he desired to mention Daniel in his will as one of his heirs. But the Hebrews refused with the words, far it be from me to leave the inheritance of my fathers for that of the uncircumcised. Nebuchadnezzar died after having reigned 40 years, as long as King David. The death of the tyrant brought hope and joy to many a heart, for his severity had been such that during his lifetime none dared laugh, and when he descended into Sheol, its inhabitants trembled, fearing he had come to reign over them too. However, a heavenly voice called to him, go down and be thou laid down with the uncircumcised. The interment of this great king was anything but what one might have expected, and for this reason, during the 7 years spent by Nebuchadnezzar among the beasts, his son evil Merodach ruled in his stead. Nebuchadnezzar reappeared after his period of penance and incarcerated his son for life. When the death of Nebuchadnezzar actually did occur, evil Merodach refused to accept the homage the nobles brought him as the new king, because he feared that his father was not dead, but had only disappeared as once before and would return again. To convince him of the groundlessness of his apprehension, the corpse of Nebuchadnezzar, badly mutilated by his enemies, was dragged through the streets. Shortly afterward occurred the death of Zedekiah, the dethroned king of Judah. His burial took place amid great demonstrations of sympathy and mourning. The elegy over him ran thus: Alas, that great king Zedekiah had to die, who quaffed the lees which all the generations before him accumulated. Zedekiah reached a good old age, for though it was in his reign that the destruction of Jerusalem took place, yet it was the guilt of the nation, not of the king, that had brought about the catastrophe. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. We will stop right here. All right, and tomorrow we actually start chapter 11, the return of the captivity, Belshazzar's feast, right? Okay, and we're gonna start talking about King Cyrus. All right, beautiful people. So today it is Thursday, April the 15th, 2021, day 128 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 797. Remember, that is without the Sabbath days or the feast day Sabbath days added into the count. Why? Because we rest on those days, just like Yahuwah has commanded us to, right? You got 6 days to work, 1 day you set aside and you rest on that day. Go ahead and get some extra sleep, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and pull up the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise you shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. So let's double check real quick. No, we run a little bit over. Thank you. I addressed these as we kind of went on Facebook. Okay. I don't think there's anything else. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna find some of these videos that they did on the Sahara Desert and the Kalahari and everything. I posted in here, and I'll let you look at it and kind of go back and look at some of the scriptures and look at what Yahuwah said and how he said the land would be until Israel arrives back to it, right? Who are these that I see flying through the air like doves landing softly on windowsills? It is none other than the sons and daughters of Jacob returning home. Zion is ecstatic for her children to come home, right? How is she returning? The nations is going to return Israel, the sons and daughters. They are going to return the sons and daughters with gold and silver. The nations are going to come and pay homage to them, right? They're going to come and they are going to serve them. Those who had taken them captive will themselves become the captives, and they will come serve at your feet. They're going to get my sons and daughters back home through swift beasts. What are swift beasts in our day? Planes, trains, and automobiles, right? The sons and daughters of Jacob are returning home by airplanes, by buses, by trains, by camels, by horses, by mules. Wherever you living at, she coming. They coming full force. And when they get back, when did I beget all of these children? When did I beget all of these children? Right, Mama? We've been growing ever since we left, right? Fulfilling the promise that Yahuwah has said that we would be as numerous as the sand on the seashore. We would not be able to be counted. Matter of fact, it's so many of us that we are going to overrun our land. Yahuwah said there's going to be so many of y'all when y'all come back. We will not be able to build walls around you, while the place that they're called in Jerusalem is surrounded by walls. They are shaking in complete fear, and all the nations surrounding them want to annihilate them because you do not belong here. You do not belong here. You do not belong here, right? The sons and daughters are waking up and they are returning home. The rightful heirs to this land, they are returning home, right? We're returning home. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Right. Hold on. Aliyah just said something. He said also says that that's why we can't start till the Most High brings everyone home. That's when their chaos will start. Thank you. How many people miss that, right? How many people miss that? And the people that, I get the doctrine that you've been brought up in the church and all this going to break loose and Antichrist and all this stuff is going to come on the scene. But do y'all realize, y'all, that cannot happen anytime soon? The sons and daughters are still scattered to the four corners of the earth. That's not going to happen for many, many years after we have already been back home. That's what Yahuwah says, right? He said there's going to be, if you read, I believe it's Zechariah, it's either Zechariah or Zephaniah, there's going to be a time of peace when we return, right? He said the old men and women will be able to sit on their porches in their rocking chair without fear of harm. The children will be able to play in the streets. There will be laughter throughout the streets of Zion from the noise of the children playing unafraid, right? No one shall ever make you afraid again. He said there's going to be a time of peace and restoration for my people. We haven't come to that yet. We're just in the process of waking up out of our captivity, realizing, wait a minute, we free? Wait, we free? We really free, right? Like a lot of, you know how they show us sometimes, like you can, I think you know how they put a big elephant, this huge elephant, they put this little ball and chain on this elephant. And a lot of time, the chain is not even hooked to the ground. Some pictures you see the chain hooked to the ground. Sometimes they just put a ball on the end of that chain. But they have so trained the mind of that captee, the person who has been held captive, where all you got to do is show them the chain and they won't even try to break free. They don't even realize that the chain is not even attached to anything. That's just a boogeyman to keep you in place. You better not go nowhere. That chain is holding you in place. This chain, and just they put a real heavy ball on the end of that chain. They put a real heavy ball on the end of that chain, but still the weight of the elephant is so much greater. It's so much greater that when they just a little bit old. They didn't even use any of their strength. They see the chain, felt a little resistance. That's it. I am doomed here forever. Like, what are you doing? You're an elephant. You're an elephant. What are you doing? What are you talking about? Everybody's just walking. Like you would say, the nations are going to walk by and look at my people in utter horror. What has this people done to deserve such treatment like this? The entire world looks at our people in utter horror. Like, why does this happen to you? Right? You will say, because y'all turned away from me. And I bring you back home when you turn back to me and you realize what you've done. I will free you from the hands of your captors. But you got to put all that garbage you've been doing, all what they've been taught you, all the names they taught you to call on. He said, my name is Yahuwah forever. That is the only name you are to call on. That is the only name you are to call on. That is the only name you are to call on, right? I mean, you can call him by different names like Yahuwah Shammah, Yahweh, different ones like that. You can call him by his attributes, but y'all get what I'm saying, right? But when we get in trouble, like if you're a child, right? If you don't teach your child the rules of your house, like matter of fact, if you don't teach your child, if your child doesn't know who their parents are, like they can address their parents by mom and dad. But if they don't know the name of their mom and dad, when this child get lost out in the street, and somebody could really want to return this child home. But if this child doesn't even know their father's name, what is your mom and dad's name, baby? Dad, mom? No, like what is their name? I want to try to help locate where you're supposed to be. What is their name? Dad, mom? Like you could be lost, like you could be down the street somewhere, but because you don't even know the name of your father and your mother, because you just know them by the intimate term. Not that there's something wrong with calling them intimate terms or whatever, like father, baba, abba. There's nothing wrong with that. But get the example what I'm trying to show you. If you don't know to whom you belong to, how can anybody help you get back to where you belong? That's why the nations must come to the understanding and realization of who Yahuwah's people are, right? When they understand who Yahuwah's people are, when they can name us, oh, that's y'all's boy. That's y'all's daughter. Oh, y'all belong over here. Get all them people and take them home. They've been scattered, all of them. We ain't been lost. Yahuwah know where every single one of us been because he scattered every single one of us, right? Now, when you realize who your daddy is and call him by name, and you let the other nations know, I am a daughter of Zion. Oh, get her home. The nations will bring you home, right? Yahuwah says, he said, the nations will help bring my people home. Those who have taken them captive will help return them where they supposed to be, right? We done for today, y'all. We gotta go. I love y'all. I'll see y'all back here in the morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.